My name is Virginia Alley. I came here from Virginia in 1952 to a segregated Washington, D.C. My husband came from Trinidad to matriculate at our universities and was working in the community when we met and fell in love and wanted to be married, and his dream was to open a restaurant. So we decided we could do this restaurant. There were lots of hamburger places in town, but Ben had this special recipe, homemade chili recipe that he thought would be perfect to open a restaurant. So we were able to find the location. That was what was most important. Find the ideal location. It would be wonderful if we could find something on what was known as Black Broadway. U Street was known as Black Broadway. It was the entertainment center for segregated Washington in those days. We were fortunate enough to come into 1213 U Street.
Construction started, I think, in 1921, and it was completed a year later in 1922. And the theater served as a space for African Americans to congregate, go to films. They had a ballroom, they had a theater, performances from people like, Duke Ellington, Billy Eckstine, Sarah Vaughan, people like that who, during the time of segregation, were not allowed to perform in white spaces. And if they were allowed to perform, they had to come through the back door. They could perform, but they couldn't stay there. So naturally, African Americans had to develop a system, for their own communities where they could actually just exist without those pressures. So in all the major cities they had them. New York is known for Harlem, Detroit, Motown, and we had Black Broadway, which is the U Street corridor. And all of those destinations were pivotal in maintaining, a black economic base, maintaining our creativity, maintaining our culture and our community.
Go-go music is our indigenous art form, and like so many Black musical traditions, it's a syncretic art form, meaning it kind of amalgamates and borrows from different traditions and mixes them together. I just came from a family that was always into music, so that's church music, that's jazz, R&B music. In my peer group, it was go-go and hip-hop. But I started doing music professionally, seriously in college. And the biggest part of that influenced that path was being an undergrad and being exposed to what was happening down here on U Street.
Lady Clipper Barbershop was established in 2017, and it was born out of the need for a comfortable space for people to get their hair cut. I previously worked in a shop that was, of course, male-dominated, and it was not always the most comfortable place for women, people who are LGBTQ. It was not a place that you might want to bring your children. So I try to put a flip to that and create a space not only for customers to feel comfortable, but also a place that I could invite artists to hang their work and musicians a place to express their art. Pre-COVID, we had open mic nights every other month, and we had poets and singers and songwriters that would present their work. Lady Clipper Barbershop is really trying to make sure that we continue the cultural piece of U Street.
Noticing a change may put it mildly. I'd say a near complete erasure. I came up in the second U Street Renaissance, because the first U Street Renaissance was early 20th century. So some of those places that were part of that first U Street Renaissance, the Black Broadway era, my generation was still rocking it. So the Howard shut down and then reopened, Bohemian Caverns. So yeah, there were places that my generation were walking in the direct footsteps of the Black Broadway generation, and a lot of that is gone.
Due to gentrification, there's been a lot of bars and restaurants and, you know, brunch activity that goes on U Street, but I wanted to make sure that I also preserve the arts. Back when I was in college, I used to go to Bar None, which is now Pure Lounge, and there they had poetry, I think on Monday nights. Bohemian Caverns, it used to be another place where the poetry circuit and music used to come from. And I kind of miss those places. Those places don't have that anymore.
If you have an existing community and you want to develop that community, you have developers coming in and they're going to put up these condos and these buildings and change the infrastructure, that's all well and good. Everybody loves a nice sidewalk, you know, pretty trees, building, all the aesthetics. But the part of the community that pre-existed, that has to be preserved. And a lot of times that's not thought about fairly. And what happens is you have a pre-existing community that's there, and then you come and bring this incoming community and pretty much drop it on top of the pre-existing community without really having a real dialogue or conversation about what the expectations are for both sides. And that breeds a lot of resentment. It breeds a lot of disenchantment, and you know, people who have lived here all their lives feel very disrespected.
And the younger generation need to know about their history, and the one reason to keep that culture going is so that we can bring that culture to them and let them see what and be a part of keeping the culture going.